Hello and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester and thank you for joining us for episode 161. Tonight we'll give you our player and match analysis of Wolves 4-0 hammering away at West Ham. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. We'll give you our reaction to the latest ticket pricing announcement, bring back the debate that never seems to go away. Do we want the Liquidator back at Molineux? Give you an update on the 150th fan shirt, take some of your questions and look ahead to Saturday's game against Leeds. We were supposed to be joined by Nui, but he's a little bit under the weather. We're hoping to have him back on the show soon, especially looking forward to him talking about the shirt, but I'll do that instead as I'm involved in that project as well. But I am, as always, joined, as we always are, by our club captain, Nocky. Nocky, you're going to start on a real positive, just to get the show flying. Your take, West Ham United 4, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0.
Oh God, where'd you start with this shambles? I didn't see it coming. I didn't see the performance coming. I didn't see the result coming based on recent performances. And I thought we were okay probably up until they scored. I think there's an argument we were probably the better team. We were creating opportunities as opposed to chances. There was nothing clear cut. We didn't really look like we were going to score, but we had a decent shape. We had a bit of a foothold in the game. We looked quite dangerous on the break. And I was quite comfortable. Even after the goal, which I thought was a really poor goal to give away, I fancied us to come back in the second half. I thought we could bring on Tolu and maybe Mane and Rodrigo Gomez and just get someone a little bit closer to Armstrong, and that might give us a bit of a foothold. So I was relatively comfortable, although I wasn't particularly happy with the starting lineup. Then second half, we just absolutely capitulated. We just fell apart, and we gave away two really atrocious goals within 30 seconds of each other, and individual errors that you can't legislate for, from firstly Mane switching off and then Gomez with a pathetic dive which has cost us a goal, and then even the fourth goal is poor from our perspective. We managed to flick it on ourselves and they've tucked it into the far post, and it could have been worse. I mean, Adama Traore, how many times have we seen him in that position for Wolves and he's missed it? Unfortunately he did again on Friday, but collectively we seemed to collapse when the goal went in. There was no fight. There was no grafting to get back in. We seemed to be really lethargic in what we were doing. We totally lost the shape. It was really, really disappointing. It was almost a probably pre-Christmas performance. It was kind of maybe October, November performances that we saw before we steadied the ship. There was just no control, and there was no system that was evident in that second half, and it felt like we could have lost by more goals. We looked a really, really poor team. I think that was probably the worst 45 minutes of the season in terms of the way that we capitulated and the lack of intelligence and just those individual errors. It was just so poor collectively across the patch. And I was hoping those performances were behind us. It felt like they had been, but that was as bad as it gets, really. And I think as I want to say as good as we've been, because we've not picked up loads of points, but we've been better. I think there's certainly an argument for that. As better as we've been, that was just atrocious. That was a massive back step for us, and it was a little bit of a reality check in terms of how bad we actually are.
Yeah, great summary there. Yeah, really good. It was, as you said earlier on, Nocky, I didn't see this coming. It wasn't a result, I actually believe, from recent efforts and graphs and fight that we had a real chance. But it was a game that Wolves started quite well, but and I know people have said that and it's a one-off and don't overreact, and there's been a bit of twos and fro's on Twitter because we've all entitled to our opinion. But would it surprise you, Nocky, that considering we're given the impression that we started the game quite well, we had 0 clear-cut chances and West Ham had 5? What does that really say for that performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think West Ham had kept one clean sheet at home all season, I believe, before that game, and they never really looked like they were going to concede. We've kind of had a system that we've spoke about on this podcast in recent weeks, that we try to just stay in the game in the first half, and then we try and put the more attacking players on the second half, maybe 65, 70 minutes, and see if we can push our way into the game. And it's kind of worked, although we've ended up with a deficit in most of those games that we've been chasing. But the lineup just didn't feel right. And you look at that West Ham back line, they do concede a lot of goals. They're very lumbering. There's some big, strong lads in there that you can't be thumping long balls to Adam Armstrong and think he's going to have any joy. But I felt it was a perfect opportunity to get someone in and around Armstrong ideally for me, I would have played Tolu and had to go at the two up front where we could maybe play Armstrong off him and see if we can get a bit of movement in and around and just move that back line around a little bit. But the lineup just never felt right. And look, there was mitigation. I think that collectively everyone had a off day, and that doesn't happen very often. But I just felt the lineup could have been a little bit braver with the situation that we're in. And we know we're down, and I know people have had faint glimmers of hope and green shoots of recovery. I've not really seen any of that. I've assumed we were down, and this does extinguish that. But it was an opportunity to maybe have a little bit of a go and see if we can ruin someone's season the way that we did against Arsenal and Villa and Liverpool, throw a bit of a spanner in the works. But we just never felt like we were trying to do that. It just felt like we were going to sit as deep as we could, try to be defensively sound, and then maybe try and pinch something. I just think it was an opportunity to maybe be a bit braver.
Yeah, it's the team selection, although I'm going to sound like a hypocrite now, which is fine because I quite often do. The team selection, as we predicted on the morning of the game, was the team that we thought, because Angel Gomez had an impact at Brentford, Mane was quite poor at Brentford. It seemed only fair to reward someone because they had such a big influence on the game, which you kind of expected. However, and as a few people messaged me, West Ham were a massive side, and we didn't seem to take that into consideration at all. Obviously, Souček always seems to do something against Wolves and cause problems, whether it's setting up a goal or scoring a goal. And they're a big side. We played a really little side. And I know it's worked recently, but that get out of jet, that sort of that hopeful ball to Armstrong. And I want him in behind and in the channels and trying to do what he did at Brentford. But when your get out of jail ball is to pump it to him, the ball's going to keep coming back. So for me, again, and again, I've talked about this a lot, and yeah, you're only saying it because you've lost the game, but this is an ideal opportunity for Tolu to maybe bring Armstrong just off Tolu to try and get us up the pitch. Not only that, defensively as well, because from them set pieces, because he's massive, he's actually pretty good at defending corners and set pieces as well. So yeah, for me, it was the team I expected, but considering how physical West Ham are, it wasn't really a thought about selection in terms of the physical opponent we were facing.
Yeah, which is surprising, really, because we should know how Nuno's going to set up a team. We had him long enough, and we saw how effective he can be in the way he plays. And it was just, there didn't seem to be much of a thought process. It was almost a case of, like you say, Angel played well, so let's give him a chance. I think there's an argument that players who are in form should get opportunities, but then at the same time, Angel's probably had one good 45 minutes for us since he's been at the club. He's not been consistently strong. So for me, pick a team that's going to win you a football match, and pick a team of players that perhaps you're looking at for next season and you want to have a little bit of a go or a little bit of a try. It just felt like a really messy selection, and we just banged bodies in and hoped that it would work. And when you're up against a side like that, you need a Tolu, because we saw it against Virgil van Dijk. He can get in around them. He can get into that kind of position between the centre halves and just make a bit of a physical presence. We were humping balls up for Armstrong for him to run onto, and they were just getting eaten up. And I felt sorry for Armstrong because we never gave him a chance. Every ball was, either to feet where he's got to try and turn a goal, or it was a long, lumping, hopeful ball over the top that the defenders were eating up. There was nothing into the corners. There was nothing to run into. And even if he did get into those channels, no one was within 10, 15 yards of him anyway. So what is he supposed to do? And we've had this debate about Chichura as well, about how effective or ineffective he is. When your players that you expect to go up and support your attack are probably going to be your wing backs, because they're the ones who can get into those positions effectively without leaving too much room in behind, you need players who are effective to do that. Chichura was totally lost, and Hugo, the other side, was a little bit better but didn't get into that supporting area. And then in your midfield, when you've got Andre Gomez and Bellegarde, I thought was okay, but I wanted him further forward to go and support. There was no support coming from midfield. It just didn't work. It was a really strange setup. And if you're going to go with that personnel and you're going to go with that setup, you need to have a game plan and a system to try and affect the opponents. And we didn't do that. We just played straight into their hands. I mean, the only real chance, I'll say it's a real chance, but the only chance I can really remember was a long throw flicked on, and Armstrong managed to get onto it that their keepers caught relatively simply. So I expected at half time that we'd make a few positive changes and try to put them on the back foot. So when we didn't do that, it was a little bit strange, because you could kind of feel what was coming. Not that for a second I thought we were going to lose the game by 4, but you could see that we weren't going to break them down. We weren't going to improve dramatically with that system. So it it was a strange performance. It was a strange setup, and substitution-wise, was pretty dreadful, in all honesty, in the subs that he made. So it just didn't work from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's a real shock to the system. I mean, we kind of all knew that we were down, but as we said a couple of weeks ago when we did the last show, try and win at West Ham, keep the season alive, and then win the next one. It was such a performance that was so far off the required standard. Now, I put a tweet out after the game, and people said, "Oh, you're only bringing it. We've lost one game." What I'd said was that you can't continue to rely on trying harder than the opponent. Now, in some of those wins and draws we've had recently, we've done okay. We've also had a little bit of fortune, but it got the job done. What was there for me that was evident the most was the desire, the never giving up, the first to the tackle, the aggression. Now, it's easy to say when you've lost 4-0, but that bit of needle didn't seem to exist. Now, was it because we had a few weeks off? I don't know. But it didn't look like a team that was in last chance saloon thinking, well, we need to win to have any chance to keep our season alive. I don't know what the difference was. It was the same group of players that had the fantastic comeback at Brentford. This looked like a completely different set of players, almost like they'd found out something. I don't know, Nocky. I can't put my finger on yes, it was an all right start, but as I said earlier on, the stats were they had 5 clear-cut chances. We had none. That's an absolute pumping. So what was the difference between the desire and the application at Brentford and at West Ham?
It felt like the basics to me. It felt like we just didn't do the basics. We didn't defend crosses. We didn't stop the cross. I mean, if you look at that first goal, Chichura is our fastest player. You've got an opportunity for him to get out and stop that cross from coming in. He doesn't do that. And then no one picks up the run. I think it was Mavropanos. No one picks up that run, and he nods it in with a free header. How can you let a big strapping centre half have a free header 7 yards from your goal? It just should never happen. And
with 3 centre backs as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the basics that we didn't do. I mean, there was an opportunity in the first half. I think it was just after or just before they scored, where we're attacking. They lump one forward. 3 of our players stand around and completely watch them clear the ball and break forward. And Somerville tries to chip Jose Sarr. It was those basic not doing your job and not taking responsibility that cost us. And we have had a big break. And I don't think you should ever have a 24-day break in the middle of a season. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. So that won't have helped. It's not an excuse, but it won't have helped. But we'd lost that little bit of sharpness that we picked up. And we did have a little bit of momentum as well. When you look at some of the results we've had, a couple of wins, a draw, we did have a little bit of momentum, but we seem to have completely lost that spark. But there's no excuse for not doing the basics, not picking up people from crosses, not defending that ball into the box, not getting out to stop the cross in the first place. You've got to do the basics. If you don't do that, then the rest of it's never going to fall into place because you're not giving yourself a chance to win games when you're making it easy. I mean, how many times this season have we spoken about the soft underbelly that Wolves had? We kind of got that out of our system. And then when you see those 4 goals, it's a game where all 4 goals are avoidable. All 4 goals from our perspective are really poor. That just shouldn't happen in a game, especially not at this level with the quality that you should have as a Premier League team. So the basics were wrong. We didn't do our jobs, and individually and collectively, we just weren't up to scratch.
This is episode 161 of the Wolves Report, Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. I can see lots and lots of comments about Edwards. And of course, naturally, after a defeat, that's going to happen. We are going to sort of dedicate a section to that because lots of the questions are based on Edwards. So we will talk about that later on. I can see the comments coming through. There's a consistent theme. Understandable after getting pasted. We will cover that later on. Let's briefly go through this this absolute massacre of a team, Knocky. I mean, it's a nice graphic that I did, but it's
that's a belter, that is.
It's all right, isn't it? Yeah, AI. It's not me, AI. I'm just telling it what to do. But at least the Wolves Report got some sponsors.
The only thing you've got wrong there is that the actual stand is less than 400 metres away from the pitch because you can't see a thing when you're in that way. And the giant stage, they've got a new one in the middle.
It's a miracle I can put a podcast together, so you'll have to cut me some slack on a graphic, Knocky. On paper, it was sort of the 11 that did well, that probably deserved to do something, to have another opportunity to go, but it just didn't work. I mean, I love Joe Gomez, I love Andre, I think they're really good. But the bottom of the Premier League, looking like one of the worst teams in the Premier League ever, we just got completely run through, didn't we? I mean, Wolves had more possession, but they did absolutely nothing with it. Now, I'm not going to go through the team because I think it'll be an absolute massacre and we've got lots of other stuff to talk about. But you look at that team there and how they overachieved in recent weeks when they've sort of got some results, because I think they actually played quite well in some of the games. But that team, to me, there should be performing way better than what it did on Friday evening.
It's daft, but I agree and I disagree. I think we have a romance at Wolves where we think players are better than they are. Yes, Mosquera, when we're winning, he's great. His antics are great. He was pathetic in that game. Some of the antics, and he could have got himself sent off. His behaviour was atrocious, and his positional sense was dreadful. Santi Bueno, he's your 7 out of 10. He doesn't really let you down, but even by his standards, he just didn't have a firm grip of anything in that game, and he even got himself a flick on for the fourth. Krejci was pretty dreadful, although he's been great this season for us. He had an off day. Gomez and Andre. I think there was a stat that Gomez has been dribbled past more than any midfielder in the league, which I think is probably a slightly warped stat because he will always go and engage the player and he can get passed around. But is he the quality that we think he is purely because he's Brazilian? You know, how many midfield battles do we actually win? And Andre as well. And again, they're very similar players. They just don't give us a lot in terms of an attacking position of the pitch. And I don't want to be too critical of those two because I do think they've been our kind of shining light. But Bellegarde, I want him dropping into almost the number 10 and supporting. I don't think he did that. Hugo and Jackson Tachura, I think he's probably the worst wing back we've ever had in this division. And I've tried to back him. I've tried to support him. He doesn't know how to play that role. He's utterly wretched in that position. He doesn't support the attack. He can't defend. He'll have a couple of moments where he'll get back and his pace will get him out of trouble and you think there might be a player there. But he probably threw in a -1 out of 10 performance against West Ham. He was just all over the place. It was awful. Angel Gomez, he had a good...
Is that our first -1, is it? Have we ever had one of them before?
I'll probably had the ump and given a few of them out. Angel Gomez, again, so lightweight, had a good 45 minutes against Brentford, but he was just completely anonymous. Armstrong, I really like him, but you can't keep playing him as a lone striker. We're doing the Kevin Doyle thing, aren't we, where we just absolutely flogged him to the point that his legs pretty much fell off. It looks like an okay team, but when you compare it to the quality around us with a Gerard Bowen, the power they had collectively in midfield, you look at teams like Forest with Gibbs White, they've all got that little bit of extra quality in the team, like we had last season with Cunha and Sarabia and Ait-Nouri. We just haven't got that in our team. So they're okay, and I think they'd do okay in the Championship, but at this level, they probably have been overperforming in recent weeks because you don't sit bottom of the league with no wins. What was it, 2 points in November? You don't do that if your squad's half decent, even if some of them have got the ump.
Yeah, it was a pretty wretched evening. You're not really mentioned Hugo Bueno, but he did not get involved in that game at all. You're asking Armstrong to compete against two massive centre-backs and pumping the ball to him. He had one bit of service and he nearly scored, and that just shows if you feed him, he'll get his shot off, which he did. Angel Gomez was poor. It just everywhere. There wasn't anyone that comes out with any credit for me. I look at the team and think, actually, he was all right.
Where it's falling down for me, though, is that midfield linking into the attack. Because when you look at that kind of, I know you've got them shaped as a 4 there, but you've got Gomez, Andre, Bellegarde, and Angel Gomez. The only one of those 4 that are capable of getting up to Armstrong is Bellegarde. He's the only one who's going to get there. Angel's going to drop deeper because he wants the ball to feet in those pockets of space so he can try and find the overlap from the wing-backs. So when you've only got Bellegarde supporting Armstrong, and let's face it, how many times did he actually get up alongside Armstrong in the game?
He's only little as well, isn't he? So he's going to be relying on feeding off a big man. Bellegarde needs someone to probably feed off, unless he's turning and running from deeper.
And that's exactly my point. I would like to have seen Angel Gomez come out, Tolu come on, so you've got someone to bounce off. But if you are going to keep that formation and that system, get Bellegarde up closer to Armstrong, but then you've got to have your wing-backs moving up the field. You've got to have them supporting the attack, because those two aren't going to be able to control it, turn and break on the defence. You need your 2 wing-backs to overlap so that you've got that bit of space out wide. They have to pull out wide to support it. That gives you Bellegardes and your Armstrongs the opportunity to try and make those runs in behind. We just didn't give ourselves a chance because the wing-backs were playing as full-backs. Bellegarde couldn't get near enough to Armstrong and Gomez was sitting too deep. And then Andre and João Gomez are always going to sit on the halfway line unless they really need to get forward. So that's where it falls down for me. You've got to have someone supporting a player like Armstrong because he's never going to be able to do it on his own. You look at the chances he's had. They've been balls in. They've been balls in that have given him something to run onto. The goal against Brentford, he made the run, he darts back across, the ball's to feet, one touch to steady himself, and bang. That's the kind of system you need to play to get him involved in it. But we never got ourselves in a position to break and to try and get at West Ham's back line, and you're just not giving yourself a chance.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Even more frustrating they didn't change it earlier on. And lots of people did make some fair comments. Well, Edwards can't be responsible for ridiculous errors because there were some ridiculous individual errors, but it doesn't take it away from we got absolutely pumped. So that's really frustrating.
By a really poor team as well. I know they've been in good form, but by
a team that might get relegated. But as you say, though, look at the difference. They've got a player that's played for England recently, and our players are. I think the drop off in our squad. I was looking today at watching that Man City Chelsea game. Ain't Nouri's coming on as sub. You see Neto. You see the name I won't mention. His teeth are offside or whatever they were singing about him. But yeah, the drop off is just unforgivable. But I think that's probably enough on West Ham. I don't want to go through the team, but as always, we do the show live and appreciate your comments. I know equally, probably even more people catch up on the various platforms. But if you haven't liked or followed or subscribed, please do, because it helps us continue grow the show. We are on X, as you know, you're probably watching now, on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, also as well, and then catching up later on Spotify. So if you could drop us a follow or a like, it would be very much appreciated. Let's get that screen off there, Nokia. I've had enough of that. I worked hard on that graphic and now it's all gone. Now, next section now, let's bring it into a positive now. Now, you may have seen this image doing the rounds recently, and I hope you have, because it's a project that I've been delighted, or the podcast has been delighted to be involved in. A project led by the Old Gold Pack, who've been joined by Lobos, WWFC X Design, and the Wolves Report, which include Nui, Alex, Nathan, and myself. And we are delighted that we are producing a shirt that will be for sale in the near future. We haven't given you the full sort of reveal yet, because we're gonna do a reveal night, and we're very, very excited. So these will be for sale. I hope you like it. We are delighted. We're really happy with it. What you will notice, though, is that there is an alternative crest that we decided to go with. For those that are aware of the details of the city crest, this is our own take on it. So if you look at the middle of it, you'll see it's very similar to that. But we wanted to do our take that was something unique. So it was our shirt by the fans, for the fans, using local talent. I mean, particularly in terms of Alex and Nathan that designed the shirt, and we've sort of getting bits and bobs from me and Nui. It's going to be beautiful. We're very, very excited about it. I can see some comments coming through. Appreciate that. It's we're very much looking forward to it. So Nui was supposed to be on the show. Unfortunately, he's not feeling too good. So yeah, we are very excited about it. We will be releasing this kit. We will be selling this kit. I'm not going to give you too many more details until the official launch and things come out, but we are really excited. We hope you can get behind it. We hope you enjoy it. I'm certainly proud that this podcast has got an opportunity to be a part of it. And as mentioned as well, Nui, Alex, Nathan, and myself been working really hard, all doing different jobs on it. I can't take credit for the design. I couldn't do that. You saw my last logo I did with the team sheet, so I can't take credit for that. But yeah, we're really excited about it. Noki, first impressions?
Yeah, it looks nice. It's hard to tell from just that little snippet, obviously, but I like the badge. I always preferred when we had the town crest as opposed to the wolf. Just a personal preference. I always thought that was quite powerful. But yeah, it looks really good. I like the black on gold as well for the crest.
Nice. There's some positive comments coming through, and it's very much appreciated. So yeah, full detail soon. I was going to go into more detail about the badge itself and what the various symbols mean, but I spoke to Nui before, and who sends his apologies. I kind of want him to do that, because that's the bit he's going to be doing going forward. So yeah, I'm going to leave that for Nui for when he comes on next. But I wanted to share the update. I know there's been some tweets going out from the Old Gold Pack's Instagram, but we're really excited. We're working with a great manufacturer who's also a Wolves fan as well. So it's very, very Wolves based, and that's pretty much all I'll say for now. But more details to follow. Nokia, looking forward to seeing you in the podcast, in that shirt, doing the podcast in the near future. This is episode 161 of the Wolves Report. Now, let's move on to a second bit of positive news, Nokia, which is actions speaking louder than words. So we've said a bit more positive. So in the week, Wolverhampton Wanderers mentioned Wolves have confirmed a series of age band changes for the 26-27 season ticket launch, designed to make attending Molineux more accessible for younger supporters and families. As part of the updated structure, under 18 season tickets will be priced at £175 across all stands, while under 14s will pay £75, ensuring young fans can follow Wolves regularly at affordable prices. Now, regularly, Nocky, we have beat Wolves with the stick, mainly because they've deserved it. Now, they haven't done a lot well recently, but in terms of the season tickets, we had the announcement of the discount. I think it was behind the goal. It was roughly working out from £735 to £550, which kept it in a competitive championship pricing, and they probably acknowledging that it was overpriced and going down. But this as well, Nocky, I mean, we talked to you about it, and obviously this has an impact on yourself as well.
Yeah, I mean, my lad's 11. So he'll be 12 this year, so £75, that's a massive drop. And I think the club should be applauded for this, and I'll be the first to criticise them when they get something wrong, and we have done on this podcast. I think these prices are excellent, and the under-18 ticket as well, £175, that's an absolute bargain. And we get more games. I know it's going to be of a lower standard of football and opposition, but I've enjoyed the Championship, I've enjoyed lower league football with Wolves, so an opportunity to see your team for that kind of price, and for me to have a little bit more money in my pocket, because obviously I'll pay for my lad's season ticket. I think this is really, really good from the club, and I think as bad as the last few seasons have been, and when they do get something right, we've got to applaud them for it. And I think what this does show you as well is that they've listened to the protests, they've listened to the fan groups, and they've listened to us as supporters, and they're trying to do something positive on the back of that. So again, as critical as we've been of Fosun generally, they still have a vested interest in this football club, because they're kind of listening to what we're asking for now. And I think those prices are really, really good.
Yeah, it's no secret to say that Wolverhampton Wanderers have made some disastrous decisions, and a combination of those over a number of years have left Wolves where they are now, because you've mentioned the phrase for a couple of years now, circling the drain, disastrous decision after disastrous decision, and finally it's all caught up with us. We went into that meeting and I said as well that talking positive and believing is great, but you're going to need to show us before we believe you, because trust is broken. This is a start. So the one thing I think they've actually done so far is pretty smashing the ticketing side of things to get that done. So you have to credit that. I mean, I don't speak on behalf of anybody. I'm just giving my opinion with you. It still might not be suitable for some people, and that's down to them. For me, I think the season ticket behind the goal is a reasonable price, but I think this is excellent. And as it's been acknowledged there in terms of protecting the future, because we both went with our dads when we were young, and we weren't certainly priced out then. But £75 for under 14s, I think is absolutely fantastic. Nocky, it's almost tempting me. Now I know younger kids don't always have the longest concentration spells, but I'm thinking, well, I might get one of them from one of my little ones that they can share, because at that price, it's for me, it's fantastic value. But yeah,
but it's such an easy win, isn't it? It's such an easy win, and we've spoke about the easy wins that the club could have. It's an easy win. You're going to get more supporters in there, but also this is your future Wolves supporters. There's these, you get them hooked now, and same with my lad. I mean, my lad's, this is his second year of having a season ticket, and he wants to go. He's missed it in the international break. He wants to go to as many away games as he can, because he's hooked on it now, and he'll be following the club. And he might be doing a podcast in 30 years from now himself. He's addicted to the football club. So you've got to get him in at a young age. But in order to do that, you've got to make it affordable for people. We know that, Wolverhampton's not an affluent area. We know it's been hit. We know the situation that we're in with, the pricing and the cost of living crisis and everything we're going through. So if you can give us a little bit of a carrot like this, it's going to get more people back. You're going to bring back some of those supporters that have been priced out, and it's just going to build the atmosphere up, because Molineux needs to be horrible next season. It needs to be loud. It needs to be really vocal. We need to get a noisy, nasty environment in there, because we've got to get back at the first or second attempt. Otherwise, we could be in the doldrums for a fair few years. This is going to help because you're going to have more people in the stadium feeling more a part of it. Because when the club do things like this, and when you're priced out and it's prices are going through the roof, and you're talking £70 for a ticket if you're not a season ticket holder, it makes you feel separated from the club because you feel like a customer as opposed to a supporter. Prices like this make you feel like you're a supporter again, and it makes you feel like the club have got an interest in keeping you there. So for me, it's a great initiative from the club. It was a very easy win, but that didn't mean they were going to follow through with it. So well done to everyone involved, and well done to Nathan Sheik, because he's the one who would have to pull the trigger on this. So yeah, really pleased.
Yeah, it's been a dreadful week on the pitch, but this is a positive off it. So I think it's heading in the right direction. Particularly, well, I think the ticketing side of things, I know they'll probably release the individual match day prices as well, and people will give an opinion on that. But so far, so good in that department. So yeah, credit to Wolves where credit's due. I think there's been some really smart and good decisions that have been made there. This is episode 161 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. We are 32 minutes in. We've got lots of questions at the end, which I'm sure we will try and do our best to cover. We're flying left, right and centre. Next up on tonight's menu, Nocky, this is a conversation that does the rounds, and you get asked about it and the atmosphere. And something that's been brought up recently is the Liquidator. Now, for me, I'm very much pro-Liquidator. Equally, I understand that people might not like what it creates or what it says. They might not be offended by the language. I'm not at all. I know many people aren't, but some people are, and equally they're entitled to their view. That's fine. However, Nocky, them lot down the road play it. I heard it played today when Chelsea played Man City. So why can't Wolverhampton Wanderers play it?
I want it back. I think it's a much better atmosphere when the Liquidator was played. I'm not a big fan of the current song that we come out to. I can't remember what it's called, Hi-Ho Wolverhampton, that we come out. I don't like that. I think it's crap. So I think if you can get the Liquidator back, it just brings such an atmosphere. And absolutely, the Albion play it. They refused to stop playing it. I know the police pushed it because of some of the language that are used, but not playing the Liquidator doesn't mean you're not going to hear that language in a football match, because you absolutely are. So I've always loved the Liquidator. I feel much more attached to that song than anything else that we've come out to. So as far as I'm concerned, it should absolutely be back next season. I'm not sure it will be. I think they'll probably stick to their guns on this one. But from a personal perspective, I'd have it back in a heartbeat. It's much better than what we currently have. Yeah,
it's my understanding that this has nothing to do with West Midlands Police. Now, I'll stand corrected and I'll apologise if that's the case. But I believe this is a club decision only. So I know some other podcasts that I've been speaking to have been getting surveys out recently. I'm going to post a survey. I was going to do it mid-show, but I don't want it to press a button. I'll probably make the show disappear, knowing my luck. So at the end of the show, I'm going to post that. If everyone could, I'll post it on X and I'll post it on the Facebook page as well. If you could give your opinion, repost it, because I generally think that in strength in numbers, we can achieve things if we're on the same side. So if we can give visible evidence and use a bit of democracy in our favour, and so in this percentage of people want it back, surely, Nocky, then we present it to the club as a collective from multiple podcasts or multiple content creators or anybody that wants to do it and be a part of the vote, that we go to the club and then actually get some real answers, as opposed to no one really knows what's happening because there's never a real clear answer.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think the club's stance is going to be that it's not appropriate based on the language that's used. So I do think they'll stick by the guns on this one, but I completely agree. It's definitely worth asking a question and seeing if we can at least have a conversation around it, because it is so important we get back at the first or second attempt. I can't emphasise that enough, because when that parachute money runs out, we've seen what's happened before, and we got away with it once because Mick McCarthy came in after the parachute payments disappeared, worked on a shoestring and did miracles with it. That doesn't happen very often. So anything we can do to lift the atmosphere in Molineux and get people singing and get everyone behind the team, it's only going to help, isn't it? So I think it is in the club's interest to try and make that atmosphere as strong as possible, and this is going to help do that. So yeah, it's definitely worth a conversation.
I mean, it's no coincidence that, I mean, there's a few factors why the atmosphere has dropped off. One, slowly but surely, people have genuinely priced out. working class local people, the hardcore element, people that have been going longer than you and I have been priced out. So that prices out some noise. Number two, over the last 4 or 5 years, the club has been in massive decline and it's been awful. And it is harder to, I mean, granted, you support your team regardless, but it is harder to create an atmosphere when your team is so drab, particularly this season. So there are a few factors there. So with that in mind, Nocky, surely we use every tool in our armoury because everyone else does it. There's all kinds of things. Like Birmingham City have the who are you for a substitute, and the announcer goes who when the opponent brings on a substitute. Everybody's using every trick in the book to make the atmosphere better, apart from us. Now, I've seen a few people commenting in terms of certain people stopping it. I don't know any official answers, but if we go with evidence that the majority want it back, then we present it and we ask for it. That's exactly what should happen. So, yeah, I'd love to get your comments. I can see most people are in favour. So, yeah, let's see what we say. But yeah, Nocky, why wouldn't we use it? If everyone else is using it, why is it one rule for one and one rule for another? Who's it really offending? I mean, I know, again, people use whatever language they want. It's not for me. I'm not offended by it. Some people might. But I think, as you say, in our position, we need all the help we can get. Imagine the first game, probably Friday night against Wrexham or something next year. That'll be the first home game. That comes out. That comes through the tannoy, the atmosphere that'll create. Because I know you said we've got 1 or 2 seasons. I think we've got 1 season. I think because if Wolves don't go up first season, then you're getting slightly less parachute money. And there'll be, I mean, if Spurs come down, for me, that's one position gone already because their budget will be absolutely off the chart. I know people are laughing about that, but I do not want Spurs getting relegated. I want the most financially vulnerable team, which would probably be West Ham, which we didn't really help ourselves with. So with that in mind, Nocky, surely we do everything we can to make Molineux horrible again. And I say horrible in the nicest of ways. I don't wish anybody a harm. But when we got promoted and those years, those nights under Nuno, Molineux was spiteful. They're like the noise for the Yotta goal in the FA Cup quarter-final. That noise and that zip and that belief is gone. So we have to use every tool in our kit, don't we, to help it get back there. Surely they must understand that.
I completely agree. And the atmosphere is mainly due to the decline of the quality that we've seen. But I mean, how many songs have we actually got now? You've probably got 3 songs because the Jimenez song, the Neves song, Jota, they all disappeared. We had Nuno's song that disappeared. We've just not had the heroes back in that we can replace them with. And any time we have had someone who we could believe you didn't get a bit of vocal support behind, like Acuna, we sell them as quick as we possibly can. So there's a lack of songs, there's a lack of collective togetherness around the club at the minute, and that will build if we do things like this and have the Liquidator back. So I'm all for it. I can't remember the exact reason it was taken away. I thought it was to the police, but I remember there was a narrative around they didn't feel it was appropriate based on the language and the young children in there. Whether that narrative's now changed, I don't know. But for me, get it back. Let's start building that atmosphere. Let's start getting that support up. Let's start making more noise. Molineux, when it's noisy, when it's horrible, is an absolute bear pit. It's an equaliser against anyone, and we've seen that in the first few seasons. We were up when we were beating Arsenal, we were beating Chelsea, we were beating Man United regularly at Molineux, beating Man City after being a couple of goals down. That we did that because of the noise that was able to generate. And yes, we have more quality on the pitch, but it's ferocious when it's like that. I mean, there's a great podcast by the ex-Albion keeper, Ben Foster, about the abuse he took and how it actually affected him in a game because of how raucous and noisy Molineux was. That's the kind of atmosphere we can generate, but we've lost that. We've lost it in recent years. There's been a few nibbles back towards it when we beat Villa this season, when we beat Liverpool, but it hasn't been there for enough for us to really get that vocal, horrible atmosphere back, which again is connected to the results, obviously, and the lack of quality we've got in the team. Something like this helps. It needs to be a full reset. The reset's got to be on and off the pitch. It's got to be in the stands as well. We need more songs. We need more vocal support. This is an opportunity to start that reset. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm repeating myself, but we are desperate for wins on and off the pitch at the moment. Again, we've credited the season ticket prices for the juniors, the discounts, particularly that affects sort of my price behind the goal. Fantastic, well done. You've acknowledged, you've listened, your words have actually become actions. Nod. Now let's do something else. This is an open goal, okay? This is a gaping, wide open goal for a tap-in just to happen. Put it on, watch the atmosphere change. If you don't like the atmosphere, if you don't agree that it didn't improve the atmosphere at that game, don't play it again. Give us a test. Let's show you what it can do. Imagine it's coming out before the game and then they're coming out at half time. Granted, it's a bit of fruity language. This is a football game. Molineux is soft. Molineux isn't nasty anymore. I want to see it back. And when it's like that, imagine you're a player there and you're coming out and you're like, wow, well, this is good. It used to be like that. And we need all the help we can get. All the help we can get, particularly next season when Wolves really need to get promoted first time. And let's face it, Nocky, with the alleged good financial situation, which we were made to believe was the case in the meeting, Wolves should be packing a punch. So do all you can, back this new team. Let's just do this and get a quick win. Surely it's an open goal.
Yeah, completely agree. And I do think we're going to need all the help we get next season, because if Spurs do come down, there's one place gone. There's not a doubt in my mind, regardless of their financial problems they'll have, the amount of money they can generate at that stadium, and with the stuff they do with the extracurricular activities, they're going to make a fortune and they're going to be fine and they'll walk that league. West Ham come down, it could be slightly different because they're already in financial bother, but they're still going to be able to be very, very competitive. Birmingham are going to be better. Wrexham are going to be better. It's going to be a really tough league for us next season. So we're going to have to be at our best to get out of it. And any edge we can give ourselves, it can only be a good thing.
Absolutely. This is episode 161 of the Wolves Report. Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. As you will notice, we are going to give plenty of time to questions tonight on one particular topic that many people have asked. So let's dive into some questions. Knocky, where are we here? Let's have a little look. Here we go. We all know what's coming. Greg, Patrick, Graham and Wayne are all asking about Rob Edwards' future. Now, we could say, is this a knee-jerk reaction? Because are we being a little bit harsh? Well, based on recent results, we could be. But this was a massive red flag for me on Friday night, Knocky. This wasn't like, that was close. It was miles off it, and there could be a number of excuses, but we have to play fair. I know you've been sort of pro Edwards. I've sort of been on the fence. Tyler was never for him. That's fine. I just think Wolves need to make a decision and not be messing around. If Rob Edwards is your guy, you've got to fully back him in the summer and give him what he wants. Not feeding him players he doesn't want, because you might as well have another manager then. Now, again, I'm repeating stuff on old podcasts. Have I got my reservations about Rob? Yes, but I had my reservations about Nuno. You know what I mean? You have your reservations about everybody at some point, don't you? So I just think we need to be really careful of what we do. We need to have a plan and we need to stick to it. We can't be having Rob Edwards and then sacking him October, November. It can't happen. You fully back him now. You fully back him. Or if you're not going to give him the players he wants and it's a guest if you led model again, then it has to be someone else. Knocky.
It's really difficult, isn't it? It's really difficult. And I know you say I'm pro Rob Edwards. I try to be balanced based on the situation that he walked into and what I've seen since then. I'm at the point now where I think we probably need to sack him, but I don't think he deserves to be sacked. This is going into what we've already spoken about. Next season, we have to be collectively together on and off the pitch. We've got to have noise. We've got to keep ourselves together and we've got to have one solid unit all moving in the right direction. If we can't do that, we're not going to achieve anything. Rob Edwards is never going to be that man because he polarises the whole fan base. When you look at recent form, 1 defeat in 6. But what is it we're all focusing on? The 1 defeat, because people have already made their minds up about him. I do think it's harsh, but I don't think it's ever going to go away because he is splitting the fan base more than any manager that I've ever seen. But if I was to ask you a question, did you see that performance coming against West Ham?
No, I think, and a few people have mentioned this, I think it hurt even more because I wasn't expecting it. Now, usually you kind of know what's going to happen, but yeah.
Why weren't you expecting it?
Because recently we've offered resilience, and even when we've been crap in some games, we've still been in the game. But that tactic, Knocky, which I would throw back to you, that tactic of trying to keep it tight and then pinch a goal, it isn't sustainable. It also isn't sustainable that the tactic of you've got to want it more than your opponent. You should want it more than your opponent every single game. And I am grateful for the wins and the league game against Liverpool. There was and particularly against the Villa, I did enjoy that. Those effort-based performances were good, and he had us more organised. But then you remember the lead up before that run of form, and then there's a reminder of that on Friday night. And I am concerned, and just throwing something back to you, Nocky. Someone put a question on Twitter earlier on, I can't remember where it was, but someone said if Wolves would have been mid-table and their manager would have been poached and not sacked, and Wolves were bottom, would Wolves have gone for Rob Edwards then?
No, absolutely not. But you're dictated by your situation, aren't you? I mean, we could go for some of the best managers in the world. They're not going to come when you sat bottom of the league, are they? When I asked you, did you expect that? And no. The reason being is we've improved, and there's evidence to say that we've improved. And I know Greg put a stat up about how many wins, but look at the wins over the last sort of 6 or 7 games. We've managed 3 of them, or managed 2 of them together with some draws and with some points. So we have improved under Rob Edwards. I don't think anyone could deny that. For me, I would give him an opportunity next season based purely on what I've seen since he came into the team. But he's going to polarise the fan base. We're never going to get on board with him. I've not seen this with any other Wolves manager at this stage of his career. And I think with the situation we're going to face next season, we've got to be on the same page. So I think the right thing to probably do is to get rid of him, because I don't see us ever being in a position where we're all going to agree on him. If we start next season and we win 6 games and then we lose the 7th, the only focus will be on the 7th, and it'll be Edwards out again, because we're almost waiting for that so that we can push that narrative back out that he needs to go. He's not good enough. I think he's always going to be on hiding to nothing. So the safest thing to do is to get rid of him and get somebody else in that maybe unites the fan base a bit, and we can be collectively ready for a push next season. I think it's harsh on him because we are better than we were. When he came in, we were sat on 2 points. The collective kind of conversation on this podcast and a lot of other podcasts is we don't think we're going to beat Derby's record. We are going to do that, and we already have done that, and we could well possibly double it if things go really well for us in the last few games of the season. That wasn't on the cards up until Edwards came in. So I think he has done he's done a good job relative to the situation that we were in. He was never going to keep us up. That wasn't possible. The squad isn't good enough, as we've already discussed, but he has made us more solid. He has made us more difficult to beat, but he does throw a few strange decisions out, similar to what he did on Friday, and we ended up getting pumped 4-0. There isn't a manager in football that hasn't got beaten 4-0, by the way. But those errors are what we're always going to focus on. And I do honestly believe we win the start of the season, we win the next 6. We lose at 7th, we'll all be criticising him. If we go and win our last, 5-6 games that we've got left now, people will focus on, well, if we'd have won that game against West Ham, we might have stayed up. It's always going to be a negative focus towards him. So I don't think it's fair, but I think the only decision is to get rid of him, because the fan base is never going to be on side.
Yeah, I really want Rob to succeed, because he could have quite easily been getting promoted with Middlesbrough. Who knows what would have happened there? So obviously he would have had a pay rise coming to a Premier League club. He's going to be managing the Premier League, and he's going to be managing the team that he's spent most of his career at in terms of coaching and playing. I get it. And I know he's been hammered on some of the social media platforms and TalkSport and whatever, but this is a short life with limited opportunities. If someone dangles that carrot that you like, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. If it suits you, you've got to do it, because life's too short to turn down opportunities. Do you think there is a certain amount of stigma attached because he might not be seen as a fashionable manager, but more so because this was Jeff's last big move? Is there a certain amount of stigma attached to Rob because it was Jeff's last play?
No, I don't think there is. I think we are, as a fan base, we think we should be getting better. We've had Nuno, we've had Lopetegui. We think we deserve better than Rob Edwards, and we should be targeting better than Rob Edwards. But I think when we're in the situation that we're in, realistically, I don't think any manager in world football would have kept us up walking into the position that Rob Edwards walked in, because we were too far adrift at that point. So I don't want to say snobbery, but I think we've been spoilt with Nuno and what he did, with Lopetegui, who kept us up. And that's our expectations. And they absolutely should be our expectations, by the way. I'm not criticising anyone for that. The prices we pay currently, we're benchmarking against teams like Aston Villa, who are going to finish in the Champions League again. We're benchmarking against those top teams. So we should be ambitious enough to say, well, actually, I think we should have a better manager than that. But I think it's relative to where you are in the league. We're bottom of the league. He was doing really well at Middlesbrough, and I know they had a little bit of a bounce when he left, but look at him now. It looks like we're going to be playing him next season, which should be fun if he's still there. But they've fallen off a cliff since he's left. He has stabilised a club that was on its knees, and the players who were there was so much damage done to those players mentally. They would have been in a position, when you're in November and you haven't won a football match, they'll believe they weren't good enough. They'll believe that they're not good enough to be at this level. They're going to lose every week. The mentality is going to be all wrong. You're not going to turn that ship round overnight. You're never going to get the new manager bounce when you're in that kind of position, when you haven't won a game. It's just not feasible to do. You've lost all of these players, Sarabia, Cunha, Aït-Nouri, Semedo. You've lost your entire spine of a team. You've lost nearly all of your goals. You then lose your main man in terms of Strand Larsen as well, and you're asking him to build you a team to keep you up. It's never realistically going to happen. So I think there is a lot of mitigation around where we are in the league since Edwards came in. I don't think he's perfect. I think he's made mistakes. But I think you have to look at it from a bigger perspective in terms of what he walked into and what was realistic for him at that point. For me, the only target I had, and it might be small time, was to make sure that it's not the Wolves record going forward. It stays a Derby's record. And we achieve that, very, very comfortably. But I go back to my original point. I think he needs to leave because you see the comments that are coming through now. As soon as we lost that game, I checked my phone. It was Edwards out, Edwards this, Edwards that. There was no comment around João Gomez and his bottle job in midfield. There was no comment about Mane losing the ball. There was no comment around the free headers that we gave away and the free finish for the fourth goal. It was all focused on Rob Edwards. So as a fan base, we're never going to accept him. So we're going to have to make that decision.
Yeah, tough one. As a great point from Sutty here. We are going to have to spend a minimum of 100 million this summer. 9 players in. We can't give Rob Edwards that war chest. He's tactically inept. 14.28 win percent, nowhere near good enough. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Wolves need to be spending massive, and they should be in a position to be spending massive because there are still some crown jewels there to be sold. Ladislav, the 2 Brazilian midfielders. There's going to be a decent amount of money. Bearing in mind how much money we've got in January as well, and the parachute payment. There is no excuses, Nocky, for Wolves not being a player next season. Now, they need to make sure they get that plan well. Now, this is bizarre. I'm a bit on the fence with Rob. I want him to do well. I want him to be backed, and I want him to have, because this isn't really his team with his players. He's brought one forward in that, unfortunately, he's lumping the ball to, so we're not really the best out of him, which again is a red flag. Wolves need to make a decision and make a decision soon. If he's going to be the guy, it has to be his window. It has to be in his and Matt Jackson's window. They have to back him, and then we understand and we will back him. But if they're going to mess around with Gestifute recruitment and pushing players that he doesn't want, there's no point in being the manager. That's what I would say anyway.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. Where we think he can't sign players, the one that he's bought in permanently is Adam Armstrong, which I think is a really good signing. And he's brought him in. He was his man. So there's an argument that he can spot a player. And then, yes, it's a 14.8% win ratio. I'm curious to know what people think the win ratio would have been if we'd have perhaps bought Nuno back or bought someone else of a higher ilk or Lopetegui in. Do we think it would have been a lot better based on the situation we were in when he walked in? I'm curious to know that. As again, I'm not buying or selling. I'm just trying to be balanced in terms of what I think he walked into. If I've got no connection with Rob Edwards, I've got no connection with any of these players. If Rob goes, it's not going to bother me in the slightest. If we sell every single player in that squad, I'm not going to care less because I've got no connection to them. I'm just trying to bring a bit of balance in terms of the job that he had to try and do when he got there. Have I seen an improvement? Yes. Have we achieved a minimum requirement of beating Derby's record? Yes, as small time as it might be. Was he ever going to keep us up? Absolutely not. No manager would have done. So there's mitigation, and then there's the job achieved relative to what was possible, I think, is what you've got to balance it against. But it's such a difficult decision. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to this one. If we keep him and he takes us straight back up, we're absolutely right. If not, it falls flat on its face, it goes wrong, but we're not going to know unless we give him an opportunity. But I can't see that happening based on the kind of anger in the fan base towards him every time something goes wrong.
Greg, Patrick, Graham, Wayne, and the others that mentioned it, I hope that satisfies you with our opinions on that. Agree or disagree, great stuff from Nocky there, fantastic. So Greg, Patrick, Wayne, Graham, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Let's have a little look here. Here we go. Richard says, good evening, Richard. The summer will likely be the biggest rebuild yet. Now, a couple of things here. No matter what people say, Nocky, there are going to be multiple players leaving in the summer, regardless of the manager, because there's a few of them that are going to be. How many of those players? I mean, that what Sooty said earlier on, expect to sign 9 players. I would say that's probably easily going to be 9 players leave. You'd say anyone that's like Jose Sarr, the 2 Brazilians. I know Andre said he loves it and I'd love him to stay.
Andre's gone, mate. He's not going to stay.
I think he's just going to be too good for the Championship, which doesn't say a lot when we're sat at the bottom 20th of the Premier League. But yeah, what Richard's saying is, I think that team is unrecognisable. I think there's Adam Armstrong. That's the only guy I can pick, possibly. I don't know. I know Mane's got a dip in form. He could never keep up what he's doing with the start he had. I know. Brilliant goal against West Ham. Brilliant goal away at Everton. Hope he's there next year. But Wolves aren't going to turn down, let's say, 30, 35 million, are they? Because that's straight profit. Now, if that helps you balance the books and get in a couple of really good Championship players, then so be it. We need to be ruthful. But yeah, Richard's point, Nocky, this is a massive window and they just can't make any mistakes.
It's absolutely ginormous. And I think the situation we're in, does Mane on his own take us up to the Premier League? Probably not. He'll be effective for us. But if you can sell him and maybe get 40 million and bring in 3 or 4 players on the back of that, I think it's business you have to do. I mean, looking through that squad, I can see Armstrong staying. Chichua will say, because there's not a chance anyone will want to buy him. But you look at Krejci's going to go. I think Bueno probably goes. Mosquera, probably 50-50. It's whether someone wants to take a risk.
He loves a 50-50, doesn't he?
Yeah. Andre, Gomez, Bellegarde, I think will go. Hugo goes. Tolu goes. So I think you're probably left with Armstrong, Dan Bentley, Chichua, and a couple of others. I think I'm happy if they all go. My nervousness is that we get to pre-season and we've still got Gomez, we've still got Andre, we've still got Tolu, because we're trying to get the best value for them. The Championship's a difficult league. We need players in early, we need them in quick, we need the business done as fast as we can possibly do it. Because if you go into pre-season and then you bring in 5, 6, 7 players after pre-season started, we're going to have the same situation we had this season where we don't gel and we're not picking up the results. I mean, we're not going to go 12 defeats in a row in that league, but what we will do is be in a position where we're not. Yeah, but you'll be getting a point instead of 3, and those drop points are going to cost you towards the end of the season. So whoever stays or goes, that business has to be done as early as possible. Where the problem's going to be is that we've got a World Cup coming up. So those deals aren't going to be done before the World Cup, you wouldn't think. It's going to be after the World Cup, and suddenly you're knocking on pre-season training again and the pre-season friendly. That's my worry about this transfer window. I'm not worried about who goes. I'm worried about how quickly we can get them out the door and get the replacements in. You would hope the fact that we've been relegated probably since October, realistically, they've been working on what they want to do and who they want to bring in and who they want to take out and who wants to stay and who wants to go. Forget the Andre talk, he'll be gone. But we need to do those moves straight away. We should already be negotiating those moves now to get the players out and to get the new players back in, because time is key. We've got to give the manager, whoever that is, a chance to gel the squad.
We have to hit the ground running.
You can't blood. You don't blood 9 or 10 players in 3 weeks, do you? You need 2 months minimum to do that. So if
this
we
is
don't,
why you need championship players as well. Some high-level Championship players that don't get promoted this season. That's what we need to be targeting. Championship high quality, Championship experience, people that know the league. Yes, we got fortunate with Neves and Jota, but they were Champions League footballers. God bless Jota. But we're not going to have that kind of window again, unless it is a Mendes-led window. Then it's probably not going to be Rob Edwards, but we're going around in circles. Richard, thank you for being.
They're out there though, aren't they? I mean, you've got Vopotnik. You could go and pick up and he's going to cost you a bit of money, but you'll get that back with Tolu. You've got players like Cozy Dubry at Bolton who cause trouble for defenders. You've got players at Leicester who are going to go down. The kid they've got on the right wing, I forget his name now, but there's some quality in that league.
Front as well, yeah.
Yeah, there's players in that league that you can pick up and they can get you out of this division, but you've got to do it quickly, because if if West Ham come down, that's exactly the kind of targets they're going to be going for. And that's going to be a difficult challenge for us to sell our club over their club.
Yeah, Richard, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Great stuff, as always. Try and look up more questions, Nocky. This sort of overlaps a little bit what was said earlier on. Paul, can we raise the white flag over Molyneux now and all go on holiday? I think this is going to be make or break for Rob Edwards, because getting pumped 4-0 away at West Ham is one thing. Just not turning up at home against Spurs will be something else. Relegated or not, we're not going to take that kind of performance. So, and I think you've mentioned this previously, momentum's massive. If we go into a dip, look what happened to us at the end of last season, at the start of this season. The dip was already there. We continued the poor form. We won 6 games, and then we didn't win for like 9 months. It's ridiculous. So it's
not right.
It just doesn't make any sense. So, yes, it'll be the same. It'll be different players. Might be the same manager, might not. But the feel and the bounce, the momentum is absolutely massive. So, Paul, yes, tongue in cheek, I get what you're saying, but we can't be just giving up on those last games. And as Rob Edwards says, you're playing for your future here, or you're playing for your move, but you need to play because there's people who've paid good money to watch. Excuse me. Paul, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. What have we got now? Let's have a little look. Dave Short says, if Wolves get promoted back to the Premier League under Fosun, hopefully that's real soon, do you think they will learn lessons from the last few seasons and do things differently? I mean, that's absolutely massive, but yeah, you can have that one, Knocker.
I don't think we know. We'll probably have more of an idea after we see this pre-season. If we do the business early, if we bring the players in and we give the manager an opportunity to blood them, you would think they've learnt the lessons. But if we get to the first game of the season and we've still got João Gomez, Andre, etc. in the squad, we've got a big problem, because they're not going to be there long term. So I hope they learn.
That's disruptive.
It's disruptive, of course. It's because they don't want to be there, and you're trying to get rid of them. So it's just a mess. We're only going to know if we get ourselves promoted. You've got to give Nathan Shea a chance. I'm willing to give Nathan a chance. I'm willing to give Fosun another chance, because they're doing the right things at the moment. It's not. Well, it is their fault we lost 4-0 because they've put us in this position, but Nathan Shea wasn't a part of that. His first real action was to bring the fans together, understand what we want, and try to enforce that a little bit. Could have played it lip service. He didn't. He's lowered the season ticket prices with the promise of a reduction for everybody. So you've got to take him on face value as it stands now. Hope he listens and hope we do learn for those errors. But we're only going to know probably September, when we see what the squad looks like and how fast we did that work.
Absolutely. Just going back to what you're saying about the pre-season, Knock, I know that was on the previous question, but it kind of overlaps with learning lessons. Matt Jackson, Matt Wild, whatever agencies we're using, there's massive pressure on those guys. We cannot get it wrong. We can't be doing last minute bingo in the window. We have to sell these players before we can buy anybody, and then we're panic buying again, and you're getting 5th choice right wing backs in. We can't do that. We cannot do it. Otherwise, it's going to be another 10, 15 years in the Championship. And we've been there before. So Wolves have an opportunity. They'll be one of the most financially powerful sides because of the parachute payments, because of the assets being sold. There's no excuses for me, Knocker. It's top 2 or promoted in the playoffs, or the seasons of failing. And that may sound hard, but when you're coming down with that ammunition, there's no excuses for me.
No, I completely agree. The problem is that Championship's a git of a league. I mean, you look at this season, you've got Leicester who are going to get relegated.
Incredible.
You've got Southampton who've put a really good run together late on, but we're never threatening the top 6 up until sort of February, March time. And you've got Ipswich who are challenging for top 2, but not guaranteed to get there. Coventry City are going to win the league. I mean, who would have put a penny on Coventry City winning the league? You just wouldn't do it. The Championship is totally unforgiving. It's Saturday, Tuesday. You've got to understand that league. You try and do your little step overs and your little drag backs in midfield, you'll get absolutely poleaxed by some big, muscly Russian centre half, because that's just how it works in that league. So we've got to bring in players with experience. You can't emphasise enough how you've got to bring in players with Championship experience. Yes, we got away with it under Fosun the first time round because we brought in players like Bonatini, players like Neves, Jota, Elder Costa, who gave us a real opportunity to try and do something a little bit different. But we're not going to get away with that again.
No, absolutely. Dave, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. There was lots of questions, but we're just flowing through. We only talked about the game briefly as well. Saturday afternoon, Wolverhampton Wanderers go to Ellen Road in a 3 o'clock kickoff. That's a proper atmosphere, but anyway, that's enough Leeds compliments. But Nocky, in terms of the team, there's one force change, and Carl raises a point here. With Mosquera ruled out for the next 2 games, is it worth risking Tosi in the back line, or would you play someone else? I don't think we've got a choice, really. I know Doc was carrying a knock, so I'd imagine Totti probably comes in, and because Krejci's our most probably naturally gifted footballer, you would imagine Krejci moves to the right. Now, I know he's left-footed, but that for me just feels like the obvious decision. Nocky?
What else are you going to do realistically? I mean, there's no one else you can play there. And Totti has done a job for us in that position. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he has played there. He does understand it. So yeah, I think we've got to go with that. I don't see anything else you can do.
And I think after the performance on Friday night, I think certain players deserve to come back into the team. I think there needs to be changes. And I'm mainly talking about Tolu, because you can't have your centre forward missing a game, you're getting pumped 4-0. Probably needs to start. And I'll probably start him, if it's like 3-5-2 again with Bellegarde in the midfield, probably drop Angel Gomez, put Bellegarde as have 2 holders, 1 in front, and then have Armstrong just playing off Tolu. Doesn't sound particularly great, but Tolu's an out ball, isn't he? And at least then when we're pumping the ball up front, it might stick and something different might happen.
Yeah, he needs to try something a bit different now. We can't go in the same setup we had. It didn't work. It's time to try something a bit different now. Start looking at what he wants to do next season and see if we can implement that. If he goes out with that same system and same 11,
he's going to get hammered. If he picks the same team again and we lose, he's going to get absolutely hammered and deserves it, because
he's setting himself up.
Yeah, well, he has an opportunity, as we keep going back to the same points, to try and win people over, to show he can get a relegated team still playing for your move, playing to stay. Either way, he needs to get this team playing, and he's got to get the tactics right. He might even switch to a back 4 knocker. I mean, I hope he doesn't, but he might do that. But equally, what have we got to lose now? Because there'll be 3,000 Wolves fans going to Ellen Road on Saturday afternoon. Try and win the game. Try and have a bit of fun. Leeds are fighting for their lives. Let's give them a proper game and not roll over like we did on Friday night.
Yeah, completely agree. There's nothing to lose. Is there? If we win every remaining game, we're still going to get relegated. So you might as well just go and have a bit of a go now and see if you can pick up a few points and try and gather a bit of momentum. There's no point going there trying to shut up shop and not get beaten. Doesn't do anything for us. So let's try and have a bit of a go.
Now, there's going to be a bit of weird poetry happen. I've got a prediction for the rest of the season. Wolves will only win 1 more game this season, and that'll be against Spurs to relegate them, because that's the team I don't want relegated. You watch Wolves turn up against Spurs at Molineux and beat them. I mean, obviously I want my team to beat everybody, but I do not want Tottenham Hotspur in the Championship. And I know lots of fans are laughing about that, but that's a disaster for Wolves, because that's 1 promotion place gone. I mean, not a guarantee, but with that firepower, they can spend a lot of money and cause some serious problems. It's that time of the week, Nocky. It is prediction time. It's what the people have wanted. Nocky, your prediction and first scorer for Leeds United v Wolverhampton Wanderers.
3-1 Leeds. Calvert-Lewin.
1-1. Totti Gomez from a corner. You just got to throw it out there sometimes. You don't even believe what's going on. This has been episode 161 of the Wolves Report, and Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Please drop us a follow, like, subscribe. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We will join you again next week. Who knows what the score will be at Leeds, but thank you for joining us at the Wolves.